Breaking news, residents are urged to evacuate Midland, Edenville, Sanford, and other communities after the Edenville and Sanford dams failed.
Leave now, water's coming.
I knew it'd be bad, but not this bad.
It's scary.
Grab the dogs and go, and not knowing what was going on.
He had, I'm going to estimate 20-some feet of water in my home.
We have never been through an event such as we're experiencing today.
Experts are describing this as a 500-year event.
It's unbelievable. It was just absolutely the most horrible thing I've ever seen in my life.
So many different emotions, I can't even explain it. I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm lost, I feel lost.
Accountability. Attorney Ben Johnson tells us that's the one thing the state of Michigan has avoided for 5 years since the historic flooding in Gladwin, Midland, and Saginaw counties.
Today, Johnson joined around 30 flood victims at an event in front of the Midland County Courthouse, saying they will not back down.
As we reported last week, a judge ruled their lawsuit against the state of Michigan can go to trial in January.
TV5's James Felton joins us to tell us what Johnson thinks about that ruling. James?
Johnson is holding out hope that trial will begin as scheduled, but he says it may be years before the state of Michigan faces any accountability.
Not a single dime has been offered by the state of Michigan to step up to do the right thing.
Attorney Ben Johnson standing with fellow attorneys and about 30 flood victims in front of the Midland County Courthouse. Johnson held an event to call attention to the 5-year anniversary of the Edenville Dam failure that caused historic flooding in Gladwin, Midland, and Saginaw counties. Johnson says after 5 years, the state of Michigan, which is facing lawsuits from the flood, is working to protect itself instead of the residents it's meant to protect.
You've engaged in this defend, delay, deny process for 5 years, and we know it's not over, but we know that every single day we are not going to forget what we've been through.
Kevin Carlson with the Pitt McGee law firm tells us the state of Michigan should be held liable for its role in the flood.
The dam failure in May of 2020 was not just a natural disaster, it was a failure of government, and it wasn't just a breach of a dam. It was a breach of trust.
A breach that affected thousands of people.
They knew the dam was not safe for continued operation, and they authorized loading up Wixom Lake with more water anyway. 5 weeks later, the dam failed.
Carlson's law firm is working with Ben Johnson's law firm in collaboration with other law firms on this litigation. As we reported last week, all of these civil suits with around 2,000 plaintiffs against the state of Michigan will be tried together.
Right now, we have trials scheduled, folks, for January of 2026. And if we're allowed to proceed, then state, defend yourself, put on your evidence, and let Judge Redford make his ruling. If we win there too, you know what they'll do. They'll appeal again. So you're looking at 2-3 years down the line. And then, of course, if we win there, you know who they'll go to. They'll go to the Michigan Supreme Court.
Johnson tells us he is part of a group of 25 attorneys from across the state and country that meet weekly to discuss how to move the lawsuits forward in the pursuit of justice for their clients.
Don't forget about these folks, because we have it.
And coming up at 6, you'll hear from some of the flood victims and how they're dealing with the legal waiting game. Back to you.
Thank you, James. According to Ben Johnson, in April of 2020, state regulators approved a permit to raise water levels in Wixom Lake to protect freshwater mussels, despite the Edenville Dam's inadequate spillway. The Edenville Dam failed the following month. In a statement, a spokesperson with the state attorney general's office says plaintiffs already lost their lawsuit against the county governments because of lack of evidence, adding, quote, "We expect the same thing will happen in the court of claims. The plaintiffs do not have the evidence to support their allegations. Instead, the evidence confirms that the state agencies are not responsible for the dam's failure."
The 2020 dam failures have led to several legal battles. Here's a look at some of the biggest decisions and judgments. First, in November of 2023, a federal judge ruled the former owner and operator of the Edenville Dam must pay the state $119 million. The state attorney general said Lee Mueller and his company Voice Hydro were responsible for the disaster, saying he disregarded, quote, imminent threats to the safety and integrity of the dam. Then last month, a big ruling in the year-long battle between the Heron Cove Association and the Four Lakes Task Force, as Heron Cove fought the cost to property owners to restore the lakes. The legal wrangling put dam restoration on pause and meant an eventual increase in costs. On April 11th, in what was the final court ruling between the two, the Michigan Supreme Court denied the Heron Cove Association's application for leave to appeal. That decision allowed the Four Lakes Task Force to resume construction and financing. And finally, as we just touched on, a judge ruled that case against the state will go to trial. Roughly 2,000 flood victims across Midland, Gladwin, and Saginaw counties are seeking justice, alleging the state had ample warning that the Edenville Dam could fail, and the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy failed to address it. While there is no exact damage amount just yet, lawyers say it will be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Meanwhile, Eagle issued a statement saying it expects that evidence will show it is, quote, not responsible for the failure of the private dam. The department says it has since increased staffing on the dam safety unit and administered more than $43 million in grants to reduce the risk of dam failures across the state. As of now, the case is expected to last several weeks if it begins in January as currently anticipated.